Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about how Scream 5 and 6 ruined the characters of Sidney, Gale, and Dewey. So, I just rewatched Scream 5. I haven't watched it since the first time I watched it, like a year or a year and a half ago, and I hate it just as much as I did before. And of course, I watched Scream 6 last week. And I really don't like how they handle these legacy characters. Now, in this video, I'm not really going to talk about Kirby, even though she is a surviving character, only because I'm okay with her character development. See, you gotta remember, in Scream 4 was originally supposed to be the brand new entry in the reboot, coming with 5 and 6 later. Only problem is, Scream 4 didn't really connect that well in the box office, I guess. And so 10 years later, they finally made Scream 5, making that the new reboot. But of course, they reintroduced Kirby, mentioned in the 5th and shown in the 6th. And well, Kirby is grown up now. She's no longer a teenager in high school. She no longer has teenage angst. And she's more mature. She is 30 now. She works for the FBI. And I am okay with her character growth. See, she still has her sharp tongue. If you say something she don't like, she will sass you and everything. She's still smart. And she still has a love for horror trivia, but not as much as she did when she was a teenager. Maybe this is because of trauma, or maybe because she just grew out of it and stuff, but she still has a love for it. Granted, it would have been nice to see her utilize her horror trivia a bit more in Scream 6, but sadly she did not. But in terms of character development and growth, I'm okay with where she is at in her life. She's more, like I said before, she's more mature. She talks in a mature way. She's presents herself in a mature way. So I'm totally okay with that. But she still has, her spunk to her. She had her feet up on the desk of Officer Bailey and everything. So I am okay with her. Now, when I get into Mark Kincaid, I will address him when I address Sidney and everything. But when it comes to these 3 legacy characters and everything, they literally got character assassinated and stuff like that. And that's interesting because they mentioned that in Scream 5, where they say, all the toxic fandom don't like all these reboots, because they assassinate their characters they love so much. That was so meta in the way the movie was made, because the way these legacy characters developed or died was shameful and everything. It was quite embarrassing, and it made you lose respect for them. I could not believe how they regressed and everything. And that was just the director's meta humor on what was saying in the movie. But thank God Radio Silence is no longer going to direct these movies. I am tired of them directing these movies. They need to also get some new writers too, because the writers, here's the thing about the directors and the writers. I checked out their profiles. All of them, except for one, I have never seen their stuff. Some have barely made anything. But the one who's made a lot, he's written and produced some stuff. The only movie of his I've seen outside of Scream is the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I like the Amazing Spider-Man. I do not like the second. But even though I do like the Amazing Spider-Man, there are some things that just didn't feel like Spider-Man, to the point of the origin being shifted around, because they had to make everything different from the Sam Raimi movies. But for the most part, I do like that. However, he has produced Slender Man. Now, when it comes to Slender Man, I will never watch that. Slender Man is a new horror entity and on folklore from the online I can't even talk right now, I'm trying to think. Okay, he's an online creation for folklore and stuff like that in the horror. He's newly made a couple of years back, right? And Hollywood decided they're going to make a movie off him. Okay, smart. He's brand new. Nobody knows anything about him that much, except for what's been created online. Problem is, life imitated art. And 2 little girls in middle or high school, I think they was in middle school, lured their friend, who's also a teenager, into the woods, and they stabbed the crap out of her. She survived, and now they're locked up. And Hollywood decided after hearing that, yo, let's still make the movie anyway. I got no respect for that. That was a big no-no and everything, all because Hollywood was greedy. And of course, the movie bombed and everything. So I'm not really thrilled about the writing and direction that the new Scream movies have gone in. But like I said before, I don't like how they disrespected the legacy characters. So let's get into our final girl herself, the one this franchise is based off of. Or actually not based off of, but revolves around. Sidney Prescott, one of the best final girls ever, next to that lady in the Halloween movies and stuff. And so with Sidney, when it comes to Scream 5, this is when they decided, hey, we're going to shift away from the legacy characters and introduce these new group of kids, you know. And they tried to do that in Scream 4, but it did not work because the moment the legacy characters came back, people forgot all about the new characters. And of course, they all died and everything except for Kirby. And so with Sidney, she is the man, you know what I'm saying? She is, or I guess you say the woman and everything. She is your lady boss. Like, she is a very great character from how she started off. But in Scream 5, and I looked at the time too, Sidney did not show up in the movie until 30 minutes in, then add another 30 minutes, and she actually returned to Woodsboro and everything. So it took her a whole hour just for her to get her feet planted in the movie. No, that is not good. She is our final girl. But of course, at that time, us fans didn't know what the heck was going on. We didn't know these new group of kids were going to take over. We assumed the legacy characters were going to keep on doing what they do best. And it was so shameful and everything. She had little screen time. She got disrespected by Sam. Then it's confirmed that she has kids because we saw them with her. We didn't see their faces, but they had the stroller. She took them jogging with her. She told Dewey, you know, she wanted to get a jog in for the girls had to go to school. Seeing the size of the stroller, I'm suggesting that they're twins. And then she kept mentioning Mark, but she would not say his last name. There is only one Mark in the Scream franchise, and that from Scream 3, Mark Kincaid, the detective, the homicide detective. Him and her got kind of cozy in that movie, and even to the point of the end, like they were going to be in a relationship. Odd, because in Scream 4, there is no mention of him whatsoever. And Scream 4 came out in 2011. And now, all the way in 2020, in Scream 5, all of a sudden, there's a Mark in her life. And it has to be Kincaid because, one, Sidney has some pretty fancy looking guns that look kind of like, you know, type of that a cop will use. And she has a tracking device that she put on Sam. And she told Gale Weathers would put a tracking device on somebody. No, Gale would not. Gale has never used a tracking device ever in the Scream franchise. Gale has used hidden cameras. She had a hidden camera in the shape of a VHS tape. She had a hidden camera in her purse, and then she put up surveillance cameras in Scream 4. The writers act like they've never watched a Scream movie before because Gale has never used a tracking device. A cop would, which makes sense that it would be him. And the directors literally said it is him. They said that in like an interview. I'm so sick and tired of these directors doing that. Say it in the movie. A couple of seconds. That's all it takes. But you know, what's even worse about the Sidney character, what they decided to do, was in Scream 6, Gale said, because you know, Nev Campbell doesn't want to come back because they won't pay her money. And Gale said in Scream 6 that once Sidney heard about the new Ghostface, she took the girls and Mark and went into hiding. Really? Sidney freaking Prescott, now granted, In the third movie, she went into hiding when she was in her early 20s. She went through this crap when she was a teenager, and then after high school, she went straight to college, and she had to deal with that crap again. By her early 20s, she had enough, and she went into hiding. In your early 20s, you're still young. She was scared. She was terrified. I understand why she went into hiding then. But come Scream 5, come Scream 4, she's moved on with her life. She lives a normal life. She's, writing books on her experiences in Woodsboro and everything, and the killers. By Scream 5, she has a family now and lives far away. And then when she heard Ghostface coming, she came all the way back to Woodsboro to save the new group of young kids. And Sidney did that because she literally says he has to be stopped. This has to end. Sidney knows they're not safe, and Sidney knows if this Ghostface survives, eventually he's going to come back for her, and she has kids. So Sidney has literally evolved. Sidney, ever since the ending of Scream 1, Sidney has become tough. In Scream 2, she moved on with her life thinking it's all over. And when the killer came back around, she got scared, but she started to wise up. Towards the end, she had enough and she started fighting. By Scream 3, she got smart. She went into hiding, changed her name. Nobody knows who she is. She wears a bulletproof vest and she carries a gun. Come Scream 4, a whole decade has passed. She feels like, oh, this is all behind me and everything. And so there's no need to fear until Ghostface comes back. And then she's smart enough to outthink Ghostface. She is a brawler. She will not let Ghostface take her down. She will punch and kick and do whatever she has to. She will stab. She will shoot somebody. It does not matter. And come Scream 5, she is so smart. She is literally telling people, don't trust this person. Don't do this. Don't do that. Asking Gale. No, I think Gale asked her, do you have a gun? She's like, I'm Sidney Blanken Prescott. Of course I have a gun. She has evolved from such a traumatic experience. So for her to go into hiding in Scream 6 is almost laughable and everything. Not to mention her husband, who is a detective, also went into hiding. If that detective is so scared of Ghostface, he don't need to be a cop. So that's two characters that they pissed on and everything. And one's a freaking cop and one is the ultimate final girl. So they have literally butchered both those characters by making them the scared little babies. And people have been saying, oh, but she has kids and she needs her happy ending. That's what Gale said. People just repeating what the movie said. She had kids in Scream 5 and she still came back running to Woodsboro and everything. So that is not no excuse. They butchered her character. Next, the man himself, Dewey. People love Dewey, but people technically shouldn't. Dewey is the dopey character in the movie, the type of character people make fun of and don't want nothing associated with. But yet he is so charming in the way he is, especially how his sister will pick on him, that people can't help but to love this dude. Dewey, he was a very dopey cop in the first movie. His teenage sister made fun of him. Nobody respected him. And he ended up getting stabbed in the back. But he had a flirtmance with that of Gale, a woman that's completely out of his league. And then in the second movie, he took some time off from being a police officer. Came back when he heard about Ghostface only to protect his friends that are still alive. And he manned up. He was limping around, but he didn't care. He was going to limp all around that campus until he found Ghostface and take Ghostface out. And, he didn't want to leave Sidney by her side and then all this other stuff. He became a man in the second movie. By the third movie, his walking got better. He manned up even more. He left Gale and everything because those two started a romance towards the end of Scream 2, but he left her, showing that, look, man, I don't care what type of person I am. You might look the way you do, but look, I will be bad all by myself and everything. And, and he started protecting a group of new people that he did not know. But it's only because he was a consultant at first, but then he took up, investigating the murders and stuff. And even though in all three of those movies, he still had his goofy kind of nature, you know what I'm saying? Then come the fourth movie. The man is literally the new sheriff in town and everything. He's, taking on not only Ghostface, but taking on his wife, who is bitter at this point. And, he's trying to do everything to protect a bunch of new little teenage kids and everything. And also, of course, keep Sidney safe. Then we get into Scream 5. They completely butchered his character. Him and Gale broke up to the point where it left him so depressed that it affected his work, and they literally fired him and stuff. They forced him into early retirement. He lives in a beat up trailer. Inside his trailer is like dingy. He does not clean it. He still has a picture of him and Gale, in his house, remembering the old time. Like, he misses her so much while she lives in New York, living her life and everything. He's a former shell of the man he used to be. Then when the new kids come knocking for his help, he does not even want to help them. This is uncharacteristic of, like, Dewey, because Dewey is one of those people who tried to learn from Randy about how to, like, stop a serial killer and stuff. And yet he doesn't even want to help. And he's a former cop. He should want to help. But it's only out of guilt and a little bit of concern that he does try to help them out and everything. And he gives them all kinds of solid advice that Randy gave him. He is smarter than people take for granted and stuff. And then he had that huge showdown with Gale, and we find out what happened. He left her again and everything. See, the first time him and Gale in the fourth movie, I forgot to mention, him and Gale was going through some problems in the fourth movie and stuff, because she left her job to go back to Woodsboro, which she didn't want to do, all for him. Then come this time, he moved to New York to be with her on her new show, but he did not want the New York lifestyle. He didn't like the city and everything. And he wanted his old quiet lifestyle back in, like, the countryside and stuff. So he left her. So he is responsible for breaking his own heart. It wasn't the other way around and stuff. And, it's so sad to see how he has become. And not only that, but then he gets taken out by a killer who's half his size and weight and height. And the way he got taken out was a travesty and everything. At first, I'm like, okay, if he has to die, then at least he's shooting the killer up and everything. He has this really cool walking down the hallway, reloading his gun. He's shooting the killer, trying to save everybody and everything. He's being a boss and everything. He's about to go out a hero's death. A Klingon would be very proud of that man. You know what I'm saying, Worf? Worf would be like, yes, he died with honor. Stuff like that. But then they had to revert him back to that of Scream 1, 2, and 3 in his goofy nature. He got distracted by a phone call. He was getting ready to take the kill shot on the killer, and all of a sudden, Richie's phone rung and everything, because the killer had Richie's phone, and it rung. And that distracted him when he looked down at his own phone. One, what makes him think he has the same ringtone? And two, him getting distracted is no different than somebody getting distracted by something shiny. So because he looked down, he got stabbed, and then he got stabbed in the back, and then he got ripped open and everything. That was embarrassing. This man came in like a boss, heard a phone ring, and just got distracted and got killed. It made him look like a doofus again. And he was no longer a doofus. He hasn't been a doofus since Scream 3. And I can never forgive them for that. If he would have went out like a man and, like, the killer just like ran around him real fast or something just would have happened differently, I would have been okay with his death. But oh no, they had to make him look like an idiot again. And now we get to the queen bee herself, Gale Weathers. And I could not believe what happened to Gale in this. Now, to be fair, Gale is not the most likable character. Gale is a mean girl. And in fact, one thing they have done about her is keep her consistent throughout all 4 movies. In Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4, she keeps her edge. She is still that mean, ruthless, conniving type woman. They never got rid of that no matter what. She has burnt bridges throughout the franchise. And and what's interesting about her is that even though they kept her consistent, they also evolved her at the same time, especially in Scream 5, only to reduce her in Scream 6 to her Scream 1 counterpart, or persona, I should say. See, it's like this. Gale is an opportunist. When she hears a good, juicy story, she wants to exploit it, make a bunch of money off it, write books about it. She's done that. She has made a fortune off of Sidney Prescott's life with the murder of her mother, and then, of course, what happened in Woodsboro in the first movie, to the point where she wrote a book. The book started making movies. She has made a fortune. So much that Sidney used to hate her in Scream 1 and 2. Sidney literally Sidney punched her in Scream 1, and she punched her again in Scream 2. That's how much she hates her. Dewey liked her in Scream 1, but then Dewey could not stand her in Scream 2. And that really pissed her off because she likes Dewey and everything. There's something about his good boy nature that the bad girl likes and everything. See, it's the reverse role of the bad boy and the good girl. But even though she's rude and all that nasty stuff, she still tries to find out who the killer is. One, because she wants to live, and two, she wants to make money off it. And, by the end of Scream 2 and the beginning of Scream 3, her and Sidney's relationship has changed. Her and Sidney gets along now. They get along very well, to the point of, even though Gale was rude in Scream 4, the only person she was nice to was Sidney and everything. She was rude to her husband, she was rude to Judy Hicks, and she was rude to everybody else, but she was nice to Sidney. Her and Sidney have literally bonded to the point of becoming sisters, to the point of Scream 5. Now, before I get into that, in Scream 3, her and Dewey are not getting along because she is jealous of multiple things. One, he's hanging out with this actress that looks just like her. And two, he left her. And three, nobody will let her investigate what's going on and stuff on the movie set. And in Scream 4, she is bitter and everything because at the end of Scream 3, her and Dewey got married. And 10 years later, you've been wondering what happened in their relationship. Well, she left 60 Minutes too for Dewey to move back to this old country town and be a news reporter there, but she did not want that. She has literally become a has-been in Scream 4. She is irrelevant, which is funny because she's trying to keep her relevancy by investigating the murders and trying to be hip and cool and young with these young people and trying to figure out the new rules of the game, while Jill, of course, is trying to be relevant as the killer and everything and be famous. I like that parallel. And so Gale is struggling to get back on top and everything because everybody's trying to keep her down because she's getting older and stuff. She's literally yesterday's news. And that's a lot of growth not so much growth, but a lot of development. Then comes the growth of Scream 5. By Scream 5, her and Dewey broke up. She moved to New York, had a good job. And her and Sidney are bonded beyond life as sisters. They check in on each other once in a while. She's very overly friendly with Sidney. She tries to help these new kids out. And when it comes to her and Dewey, she still loves that man and everything, but she just can't be with him because he will not be with her. Because her life has changed now. And she doesn't want to go back to her old ways and stuff. And, then Scream 5 was amazing because we finally got to see Gale fight the killer and everything. And not only did she get to fight the killer, she killed the one who killed Dewey. And she literally said, "You murdered my best friend." Now, I would have appreciated more if she would have said, "You murdered the man I love," or "You murdered my husband," even though they're not married no more. I would appreciate that a whole lot more. But she literally said, "You murdered my best friend." And, I have conflicting views of that because she should just said "the one I loved" or something like that. And then she killed that Amber girl, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, Gale has stepped up. She has evolved beyond who she was in the first four Scream movies. She is finally successful. And successful for not exploiting people's murders. She is finally on a good relation with Sidney and everything. She comes back to help the kids. Sadly, Dewey died and everything. But then you get the Scream 6 and they butchered her character and stuff. In Scream 6, right from the start, she has gone back to Scream 1. Sam tries to punch her and Tara clocks her and everything. Why? Because at the end of Scream 5, she literally says she will not write a book on the murders of Scream 5. And, because of what just went on, all we've been through, and of course, Dewey dying. But then she reversed that and wrote about all those murders. And not only wrote about them, but of course, insulting people, calling them deranged and psychotic and stuff. The exact same thing she did in Scream 1 and Scream 2. And why in the world would she do that? She literally says she would not do that, and especially in the memory of Dewey, but yet she went back on that. It's like the writers don't care. Then she barely did anything for the entirety of the movie, doing all this investigation stuff off screen, which was really stupid and everything because we want to see that. And, I just don't get why they did that to her character. Then to top it all off, Gale got really messed up by the killer. It kind of broke her streak just a little. See, the thing about Gale that's really interesting, out of the 3 original survivors, Gale rarely gets got. You know what I'm saying? Like in Scream 1, she was involved in a car accident. And when she came back to the house, she got punched or kicked by one of the killers, but never stabbed and never shot. She literally went through that whole movie without getting harmed by the killer and stuff in a really bad way. In Scream 2, the same thing. She doesn't really get hurt by the killer, but she does get shot by mistake by one of the killers. Mrs. Loomis shot Mickey, and out of reaction, his finger pulled the trigger, which shot Gale, and then she was taken out for the end of the movie until she was brought back, and stuff. So even though she got shot, it's not like he really, well, he was going to, but not like he tried to because it was by mistake. Then you get the Scream 3, and once again, she doesn't get stabbed or nothing like that. Now, it isn't until Scream 4 until she really gets her first stab wound. And it's in the shoulder. But it's enough for her to survive to the end of the movie when we see her get wheeled away and everything. And she still has her smart mouth humor and stuff like that. Then you get the Scream 5. And she starts to get stabbed a lot and hurt and everything like that. And then, of course, in Scream 6, she gets hurt so bad that she can't even recover from that. She gets wheeled off to the hospital, and we find out she survives by dialogue and everything. We never get to see her. And that was quite a shame because she went through 3 movies, really, without getting hurt by the killer. And in the last 3, which was supposed to be the reboot, because remember the 4th was supposed to start the reboot, but something didn't happen, so they rebooted it in the 5th. But if you want to consider it as a trilogy, then fine. And that's when she started actually getting hurt. And it's I don't know, man. It's it's weird. It's just kind of when I'm okay with her getting stabbed and all this other stuff. But when she got so hurt in the 6th movie, and we didn't get to see her no more after that because nobody knew if she was alive or dead, it was just kind of shameful. They really didn't do nothing with her character in Scream 6. And then we don't know if she lives or dies. And then towards the end, it gets revealed, oh, she did survive all of a sudden. But it's kind of oh, we don't get to see that. We just get told that. How can you do that to a legacy character and everything? Not to mention in Scream 5, when her and Sidney kept like stabbing or hurting or like killing the killers, they kept saying like these stupid one-liners and everything. And these one-liners wasn't even like cool or clever or like with grit to it like in the past movies. It was like they was trying to copy the MCU style with the one-liners and stuff like that Josh Whedon type style. Which of course, you know, you can kind of look at this franchise now as trying to be the MCU and stuff. And you know, that's just my gripe with what the new Scream writers and directors have done with these legacy characters. They don't care. They don't care about the older fans. It's about the newer fans. And of course, the newer fans don't know who none of these older characters are. But, you know, they can try to reboot it as much as they want. They can try to bring in all these new characters. But the thing is that while Scream is for everybody, and I do mean everybody, it's mainly for us, the older generation and stuff. Those are the ones that are going to keep running back to like the movie and stuff. You know, because we want to see how things are going to turn out. I'm so pissed I could flip a table. Mufasa did not die for this. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.